Take a Ride podcast. I'm your host here, Starks. You can find me on my Twitter handle. It's at Starks_industry. You can also find me on Instagram, m.starkspal. I'm not here alone this evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you may be in the fantasy world. I have the wingman running the three, LT the Sage. How you doing today, brother?
Yo, what's good, job? Just chilling, man. Looking at all these failed attempts at trying to give us some basketball. Pretty funny. Me and Starks will go over a little bit of that with you, but hope everybody's safe out there and God bless.
Yeah, we're going to have a really interesting episode for you listeners. But before we, give you guys the opening, what's going on, make sure you guys check out newlifefantasy.com. Join the mailing list. Join as a member for free. We don't just cover fantasy basketball. We do fantasy football, baseball, and we talk about the faith on our site. So make sure you check out those articles on our site. Make sure you subscribe to Take a Ride podcast. And the YouTube channel should be back up after this episode. So be on the lookout for that. The LT puts the hard work on. So make sure you guys subscribe. Sub-zero that subscribe button. Hit the bell. Comment below. Give us a thumbs up. It helps our brand to continue to grow. So in this episode, we're going to get back into, after the recent news, but we're going to kind of jump into, the draft that me and LT was doing with the redraft picks. And we'll recap some of the players that we went by. This might be like a two-parter episode, but we're going to split it, for each to give you guys the solitaire. I don't know if that made sense, but it gives you the idea. What we're trying to do is to give you guys a two-part episode. But obviously, there's going to be more episodes that is going to ingrain with the redraft. And then when I do the ISO episodes, I'm going to jump back into other content with you guys. But with the news that we're going to talk about, we're going to jump in and talk about a little bit of the NBA 2K tournament that LT is going to talk about, as well as the horse that was played as well in the NBA. And I wanted to talk about a little bit of that Shaq Life show as well. And if there's any other pieces of news I'm forgetting, LT he'll bring that to us. So with that being said, I'm ready to take people on for a ride. LT, I'll pass you the ball to run that off.
Yeah, man. So first thing I want to just let everyone know, this is if you don't understand what I'm about to say, that's fine. But I was originally using Adobe for all of the YouTube content. I didn't want to pay that anymore, so I switched over to something called DaVinci Resolve. So any listeners out there that know about processing, getting those editing, I switched over to DaVinci Resolve. Definitely different. So I think I've figured out the code. You know how Starks talks about getting that code together. I think I figured the keys to the code. So I should be able to get you quality, listening and videos out again. So other than that, we're going to jump into this 2K Players Tournament, man. Okay, so we were just talking before, and the winners of the 2K Tournament ended up being our guy, Devin Booker. Devin Booker ended up winning, and it was a Suns face-off. It was DeAndre Ayton versus Devin Booker in the finals. And wanted to just say the good guy thing. Devin Booker, of course, is splitting that prize money between charities, of course, helping out with COVID. So again, people who have been damaged from COVID. So that's going to be something that he's going to do. But just want to let you know that he did win out Devin Booker, a young gun. Expect a younger player to win that tournament for sure. I actually took a look at I actually skimmed through some of these YouTube videos on some of these games. They weren't bad, but it's just one of those things, Starks, where it's like, why are we doing this? A couple of times I was watching it, and I literally looked at myself, and I was not looked at myself, but I was thinking to myself, why am I watching this? You know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things where you just kind of think about it, you just don't know, you just want to know who wins, and that's about it. So it was cool, but again, just like the next thing I'm about to talk about, you just start thinking to yourself, why are we doing this? So the next thing is going to be this NBA horse, and Starks actually brought this up to me. I seen it, but I didn't watch anything until not too while ago, and it looks like we looked at some highlights. Mike Conley won his matchup, but he is against Chauncey Billups. I guess and for all you guys out there, this should be out before these games come on. Mike Conley's against Chauncey Billups. You can watch it tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's your ESPN clipping right there. If you want to watch that, cool. You also are able to watch Zach LaVine versus Allie Quigley, which is a WNBA player. You can watch her hopefully win, but she beat out, surprise, old man Chris Paul. And I will say, out of all the videos that I watched, Chris Paul's is probably the most entertaining. Paul Pierce's is pretty funny as well. But because it's just these old guys, right? Trying to ball again. So Chris Paul, I would watch that one. That one's pretty funny. He gets beat out by Allie Quigley. There's one clip where he has to do a shot from the ground. He asked his son to help him up. His son's like 8, 7. I don't know what the age, but he needed some help getting back up, man. Old man Paul. But other than that, if you want to watch it, the finals are going to be tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have literally nothing else to do, there you go. You got that content from ESPN, quality content coming your way. But and also not to get too in depth, a lot of the people who won also had inside home courts, like access to like quality courts. They were like at gym. They were like hardwood gyms, and all the people who lost were like at their had like their mom's like side court. I was telling Starks, the sandbag courts, the ones you have to fill up with water, and you had to put the water in the bottom just to keep it hosed down. So you couldn't dunk on it or it would tip over. Yeah, people were playing on those courts. So I don't know. Is it fun? Yeah, cool. Is it really a big deal that they're doing this? No, everyone's at home. Everyone's doing, practice safe distancing, whatever. But at the end of the day, Starks, what did I say before about the 2K tournament? After you start you just think to yourself, you just step away for 2 seconds and you realize and you ask yourself why. And there is no why. There is no answer. There is no why. And so I don't know. Whoever wins, I think Starks, who you think's going to win?
In the 2K or the horse or
no, the horse. 2K's over in the horse. So you got Mike Conley, Billups, Zach LaVine, Allie Quigley.
Yeah, 2K is over. So I will say this before I give you that answer. Let me ask you this, because it is like we were watching some clips of stuff, and it's like you kind of said, we lost time into what we were watching, right? We could have been doing other things in life. But let me ask you this, LT, when you were watching that 2K, from the master yourself at 2K, did you just think like, man, if I would have played Devin Booker myself, I probably would have busted him up? Is that what you really thought, maybe back your mind a little bit?
Old LT?
Yeah.
Devin Booker was actually pretty good. I think I would have beat Ayton. Ayton didn't impress me. Devin Booker was actually good. You could tell he plays 2K. Like some of those guys on there, you could tell they kind of do it every so. Devin Booker plays 2K. He was running plays. He was, I don't know. Starks remembers our guy Abe. Me and Starks would like make stuff up on the fly in 2K. We would create plays for ourselves pretty much. We weren't like too in depth, but our basketball knowledge came through. But one of our friends, Abraham, he would you like that? He would actually run plays like ISO L plus and all these like official plays, and like Devin Booker was doing the same thing. So it's one of those where you could tell he plays the game pretty hard. I know you're avoiding the question too. Chauncey, I'm gonna go ahead and go with Chauncey Billups.
But no, that's okay. I wasn't avoiding the question. I wanted to reach back into my pocket before I forgot. But yeah, so for who I would think would pick to win, I'm just gonna say Mike Conley, right? Just because he's been a terrible fantasy basketball player this year. Hopefully that'll ignite him if we have NBA playoffs in real life.
Hopefully he'll win something, right?
Oh yeah, at least he wins something. But yeah, for this is unfortunate. I mean, we're relegating ourselves to NBA 2K players or players playing NBA 2K, and then we got the horse games. I feel like if they would have done horrors just like what me and LT kind of like spoke about a little bit before starting this, like, come on, man, why is it that much of competitive nature and like Clay Thompson or Curry to get into this? Like, I know Kevin Durant supposedly is hurt, but or even maybe has the virus, but I think he can still take shots. It's horse. I mean, just get out there. We want to at least see bigger names out there to do something. But honestly, to see Chauncey Billups is kind of hilarious to see that, and Paul Pierce, the truth. Um, he didn't call bank, he called game. So hey, maybe he didn't really call bank that day, but there's nothing else to talk about there. I don't know why we went into this rabbit hole. But let me say this, because I mean we're gonna get even deeper in the rabbit hole because I gotta talk about this real quick. I think it's the show Shaq Life. Now, LT, I know you didn't really watch it, but I found myself, I know you were stuck watching a little bit of the 2K. I found myself stuck watching a little bit of Shaq Life. You know, Shaq typically is not, you know, I think he's kind of funny, right? I mean, it's fair to say he's funny with Charles Barkley when they have their halftime speeches and shows, right? They got their bickering back and forth. But I'm gonna be honest with you, man. That Shaq Life, I wasn't really entertained, man. Honestly, I felt bad, right? He invested himself to be like a DJ in one of these episodes, and we won't talk about Shaq's rap game. We'll leave it there, and we're gonna leave Kazam, the movie, on the back burner too. I won't go there, but I will take just a little bit of a dig on that DJ in whatever he was doing. So he went into this popular place. I can't remember exactly where, but he had a DJ literally for an hour and 30 minutes straight. So throughout those times, he got busted up. And what I mean by that, within like the first 45 minutes, he started to run out of juice because when you're a DJ, you got to keep playing music, you got to keep people entertained. And a lot of people start looking at their phones and stuff. So he was getting and so what he had to do just to try to help him solidify himself, just not just because of his name power, of course, but what he did was once the crowd was starting to get dried up like tomatoes, he went out there and just started dancing, getting hyped up with the crowd. And of course, the crowd got excited because, oh, Shaq is in the stands with us, so let's just go ahead and dance, what's going on. But I just wasn't really entertained, and he tried to be serious, right, a lot through that show, and I just show was it was a 2 hour special, or it was like 2 episode special, so he really tried to lay it thick. Now I'll say this, as a father figure that he is, I think he is good at being a father figure to his children. He, you know, I think he does well in that. But man, that show that wasn't for me, man. Did you hear anything else on that?
No, but I do have a secret scroll that I can
Okay.
go ahead and tell you about. I didn't watch that, but I did stumble across. Now this is before everything that happened with Kobe, but he started a YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you saw this, but he started a YouTube channel where he was daily going through him losing weight and doing, and like he was like coming out with daily episodes. And it was crazy because it was one of those things where YouTube algorithm was like pushing them like onto me. So I just ended up stumbling across him, and it was cool. But you realize halfway through an episode, and these episodes are like 10 minutes. You realize halfway through, like, Shaq's funnier with other people. Solo,
Oh man.
he's not like straight solo. Like, he plays off of people really well, right? He
Yeah,
has funny reactions to things. But like a solo act, like just focusing on Shaq the guy, he's not the
yeah.
funniest guy solo. So you realize that. I think he realizes that, and that's why he works so well in that environment. I think he plays off well with Shaq. I think they all play really well together. And I think once Dwayne Wade actually gets in there, that's going to even be better because they know each other. So I think that's going to be even better once Wade gets more active with the crew.
Yeah, that's a really interesting saying there. It does appear that way. Maybe as a solo act, that may not be his calling card, just to have someone in his presence. That's probably why it's so entertaining when him and Charles Barkley goes back and forth, right? So, man, but yeah, Shaq Life. If you guys like it, please let us know. But I'll say this: I mean, it wasn't that good to me. I'm sorry, but we will go ahead and transition to the content. enough of hurting our ears what some of this early recent news that we had brought up. It only made sense to talk about it because it's relevant, I guess, right? But anyways, we're going to go ahead and transition to the recap of the redraft league. So as from what I remember, LT had the first pick, and I thought it was really interesting. I know it was hard for him to stomach this because he just loves this guy. No, he doesn't love this guy at all. It's James Harden at number 1 was the pick. We're going back and forth in this draft. The second pick I went with Anthony Davis. Greek at 3, LT had. Cat 4 for me. The Lizard, or excuse me, wait a minute. No, how'd we do this? Wait a minute, Greek, you pick. I'm sorry, you picked Greek Freak, and then Cat, I chose 4, but that seems weird. I
Yeah,
guess I did back to back.
we did
Yeah,
it. We did a back. We did a little quick back to back there with you. You picked Lillard, and then I went ahead and went with Luka.
okay, so we're gonna do a back to back on the start on you then. But hold on, yeah. So yeah, Lillard at 5, and then Luka like you picked at 6. So if you want to go ahead and start on the 7th pick for the finish this first round out, we'll go with 12 picks here, and then we'll see how far we'll get here.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the list here, so we can go ahead and pull from that. But while I pull up the list, yeah, man, we came out with a couple of I think picks that people may not really think about when it comes to these top picks. I think you came out with Damian Lillard. I would imagine people aren't going to
Yeah, I don't.
yeah, I don't think people are going to really go for him as far as a 5th pick, but I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I am.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that. Even though I picked him at that spot, I feel like that was the first one that I might take heat, or even us in general, because it still feels like there's going to be people ahead of him, which makes sense. And honestly, things can change. My thought logic can change what next week. But if we're just doing redraft based off of right now, this is how it would go. And I can assume that it's going to change as the future progresses on, because there's going to be some more names that's coming up here in the first and second round. I think they're going to supplant some of these other players. But
Absolutely.
as you're looking at the list, was you able to find someone for 7 there yet, LT?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, I mean, it's kind of an easy. I don't want to, find a scapegoat, but at 7, and to be honest, 5 through, I say 10 may be interchangeable, to be completely honest with you. But 7, we have to give it to Stephen Curry. I have to give it to Stephen Curry at this time. I mean, he is maybe the de facto best point guard in the league. The issue is like, what have you done for me lately, right? So a lot of us, when we're thinking about the drafts, and you got to think about this next year when you're doing your redrafts, what has Curry done lately? A lot of people aren't going to remember a lot from him from last year because he's been out. He's been injured. He's been part of the tank top in the Warriors. Everyone's been having their tank tops on, and he tried to make a quick return, and then everything happened with COVID. So we haven't really seen him do too much, and that may help out people with later picks in the first round. You may get lucky. Curry may slip to you because it's one of those "what have you done for me lately" type of things in fantasy drafts. And last year, he probably hurt a lot of people and scarred a lot of people that picked him early. So, and then another player that I'm going to just mention real quick to think about that too is Klay Thompson. Keep Klay Thompson in the back of your head in redraft leagues. A lot of people are going to sleep on Klay because again, it's a "what have you done for me lately" type of league, and he may fall. Actually, I have a feeling Klay will fall. He's like a top. I don't want to say top 50. He can be, but I believe top 75 player that may fall. I would imagine maybe later than that, depending on the type of league you're in. So just keep an eye out for Klay. He may be falling in drafts come next year. And then Curry can go 5. Shoot, Curry can go 4. To be honest with you. So it's just one of those things where I think he will go later just because of what happened this year. What do you think, Starks?
The one thing I disagree with you on is the Klay Thompson situation. I think he's still going to be relatively safe, a top 50 player coming back.
Okay.
He could be a top 35-ish player.
Yeah,
but I understand. But I understand it's still kind of fair what you said, because what I also think, he's just more of a 3-point specialist. But he's been getting at the charity stripe a little bit more. But again, like you kind of said, it's like, what have you done for me lately? If you're able to luckily get him in a top 75-ish range next year, if you potentially could in a shallow format, then
Mhm.
yeah, I'm going to try to get him. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But as far as Curry's concerned, I agree with you on for sure because he's legitimately like a top 4 player
Yeah.
in a redraft format, especially with Kevin Durant is gone. Now I know they have Wiggins now, but Steph Curry, they're obviously Wiggins and KD. I think it's fair to say they're two completely different players,
Mhm.
and Curry is going to soak up, excuse me, that usage rate to take more opportunities in that sense. So that's a good spot at Curry at 7. And as the season or maybe next year as time progresses on, I think maybe if we get a preseason next year and he does well in the preseason, he's probably going to be bumped up higher than
Yeah,
7.
that's true. That's true.
But as of right now, we do have him at 7, is as if the redraft started today.
And
So
just to steal the ball real quick with Clay, I guess he's of course a top 50 player. I don't know. My head, as soon as I was about to say that, with the injury, who knows how, I want to see how he comes back. Hopefully he comes back strong. I think he will, but I'm worried about hopefully maybe his injury may cause him to lose some game, but hopefully it doesn't. I forgot what it was. It wasn't a leg injury, was it?
I think was it patella or torn ACL or something,
Yeah,
something like
it
that.
was something like that. So hopefully nothing. He's a great shooter. I'm sure he'll find a way to score still. So no problems there. My bad. Let me pass the ball back to you, man.
Nah, you're fine. Hey, man, it's all right. And honestly, you could be right because that is an injury that I can't assume that he's going to be back, right? And he could be relatively to what you said. But I'm just assuming that he's going to be back better because I think there was times even in practice that he was low key scrimmaging this season, but there
Yeah,
was
I
no need
remember
for
that.
him, right? But
Yeah,
so moving right along at 8, I should have been looking at as you stole the ball, but I didn't. But
you're good.
I will kind of say that it's stuck between 2 players, but I think the player that I'm just gonna go ahead and say is the Joker, Nikola
Mm,
Jokic, at 8. But I'm gonna be honest, there's so many players that it's like it's almost like I feel gross saying that because there's other players I feel is going to be better. But the reason why I'm choosing Jokic is typically he's more of he's a guy that's been relatively a little bit more healthier, and honestly, this past year, now he struggled in the beginning of the season, but things really started cooking for him. In the 9 cat league, he was a top 9 player, so he's
mhm.
improved each season under the radar. So even last year he was a top 13 player. This past year a ninth player. So he's giving you first round value, scoring in bulks, giving you the rebounds. And what we love in New Life, especially for me, is when you get a big man to get you those out of position stats. Right.
Mhm.
That's probably why all of us loves Bam Bam Bigelow here in New Life. But the assist that Jokic does is something I will never ignore. Close to 7 assists. Now his assists dried up a tad bit this year versus last year, but I don't care. He still almost averaged 7 assists, the 1.2 steals, which is always solid for a big man to get. Now he's not going to get you those blocks, but that's not why you draft him. That's okay. Well, let me actually, yeah, that's all right. That's not why you draft him. The field goal percentage is always solid from him at 52%. The charity stripe is excellent at 81%. I mean, there's nothing to not like about him. But if there is anything that to dislike about him is because of those blocks. Because
Mhm.
when you draft a big man, that's what you typically as fantasy owners or GMs we're accustomed to getting those blocks. But a player that has been relatively healthy the last few seasons, 80 games last year, 75 games the prior season before. Listen, I'm going to always try to draft a player that's going to give me close to 75 plus games a season. If you're going to do that, then I'm going to be happy to draft you in a redraft format. That's why it's hard for me to stomach like what we're going to talk about him here soon, I'm sure. Maybe in the back end, like Joel Embiid. And Joel Embiid, honestly, is probably has a tad bit more upside. But the thing is, I don't want to stomach that injury concern and the load management concern with him. So that's where I stand. And I'll pass you the ball there, LT.
Absolutely. The only thing I will add, actually, good take, by the way. Just wanted to let you know that. The only thing I want to add to that is that Nikola Jokic, if you can, always I would try to pair a block heavy center with him to really help with your blocks, because he is one of those centers where it's surprisingly enough in that top 10 area, he does not give you that blocks, but he does everything else so well. He's also, unfortunately, I've seen him splash. He's splashing threes. I think, yeah. He had at least 1 3 per game last year, which for a big man is good. He adds that to his game as well. So he's great. He did slow down, I think, a little bit more than people thought he was after a huge playoff series last year. I remember, I trust me, I was there. I was watching every game of it. And he's one of those guys I just don't like because he always destroys the Blazers. So I usually never draft him. Speaking of players I don't like, we're gonna go to number 9, and I have to mention this guy. I don't like him. Starks knows why I don't like him. I'm getting over it though, because nothing good can last forever. But we're talking about the snake himself, Kevin Durant. Now,
This is interesting.
Kevin Durant.
Let it out.
I'm not going to say what I want to say because this is not about that. He's a great basketball player and fantasy player. And he can be up at 4. There's a lot of things I don't know yet about Kevin Durant coming into this next year. Don't know how he's going to respond to this injury. Starks had mentioned multiple times, he came back from a pretty bad injury before. And so this one is also bad. I think we all saw it, non-contact in those playoffs, and he's had time to recover. So next year, later this year, hopefully he's recovered completely, and he's able to get on the floor. But I have a couple worries about Kevin Durant. My number one worry why he's not higher on this list is his minutes. I have a feeling they're going to do minute restrictions for him next year. The second thing is a usage rate monster that he has to play next to. Now, he has played with Westbrook, so we know that he can perform in that situation. But Kyrie Irving I don't know if he passes as much as Westbrook. Now, I get it. Westbrook hogs the ball, but he passes. I don't know if Kyrie's going to pass him the ball like that. So we got to see how that dynamic fits. Now, Kyrie respects him, so maybe Kyrie will pass the ball more and let Durant do his thing. But I've yet to see how that dynamic works in New Jersey. So I'm unsure how his role will be, and I have a really distinct feeling that because of these injuries, they're going to play him very lightly over in New Jersey next year. So I don't know if he could be a top 3 player next year. He could be a bottom top 12. So Starks, what are you thinking about KD, man?
Wow, man, you got my blood flowing, you got my juices flowing. Not for KD. Well, I guess I'm gonna stay out that rabbit hole with you as well.
Yeah, man.
I want to say some things, but it's not what it's about, right? But
Right.
what did get juicy about this? I think this is a very solid gutsy pick, honestly, LT. And to be honest, right now this is like a perfect spot in the redraft format as if it starts today, because again, this is another player aside from Curry that as the preseason comes along next year, he's going to go higher than this, right? I think that's fair to say too, if he looks healthy.
Yeah.
But check this stat out as you were talking about, Katie. This is why I had my juices flowing. Like it's since 2012, the last 5 to 7 seasons of Kevin Durant's fantasy career. 5 out of those 7 years, he was a top 3 fantasy player. There was no player, or there was no way that he was worse than that. And what I mean also by that is his worst season out of those 7 seasons was a 8 or top 8, and that was still first round value. And this was 2018-19 Durant. Aside from that, in OKC when he was hurt, he was the top 5 player. So every season, pretty much after that, he's hit. And let me just backtrack a little bit more. 4 of those seasons, 3 out of those 7 seasons, he was the number 1 player. And the thing is, it's like me and LT has talked about this a lot throughout the season, that as much as we don't have the greatest feeling for KD, we will never talk about how great. I guess we'll never back down on how great he is as a fantasy asset already.
Yeah, he's
And, and we also talk about his age. I think he's like 31, 32, but he's going to he's going to age gracefully. And that's compared to Russell Westbrook because he doesn't rely on his athleticism. KD is just a person, as Stephen A. Smith would say, could pull up from 30. Like he can realistically shoot lights out at any time. And the thing is about him, obviously his this is where we have a disagreement with. It's not really massive, right? But the disagreement, even Kyrie is a ball hog, we get it, or even Russell Westbrook. But the thing is, Kevin Durant will still get a usage rate. I don't think that's going to ever be an issue with him. He'll find and pick his spots. I mean, even in Golden State, we could talk about Kerr, we could talk about Clay wanted their shots. Now, Draymond Green doesn't take shots, so it doesn't matter. But he was still getting that solid usage rate. And honestly, here, check this out. This is an interesting fact. One of those years in Golden State, he was getting the same usage rate in Golden State in 2017 when he was with Oklahoma. And I thought, which is also weird, I thought maybe he was going to take a dip in usage, which he did in Golden State, just a tad bit. But realistically, he was very close of getting the same usage rate from Golden State to OKC. So I think that's going to translate and still be fine for him going and playing next to Kyrie in Brooklyn. I understand, like you said, Kyrie and Russell is two different commodities as well as Steph. But man, if he is healthy, like goodness, man, I can't. There's not too many players other than him and Curry that can shoot a lot of shots that have a high usage rate, on top of having a strong field goal percentage. Because when you pump up the volume, which we love here in fantasy, there's a good chance that your field goal percentage is going to be. There is a. But when it comes to him, his his field goal percentage is always like 50% or above, like a big man. And I mean, typically the wingspan is great. I don't know how he does it. He's a great fantasy player. As far as our love for him, NBA is different. We know that his fantasy is
your voice is going out there, Starks. Just letting you know that.
not bad.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, man. No. The only thing I will say to that to counter what you just said is that we got to think about the Brooks plays, right? He had two plays, right? ISO Russ, ISO KD. So the Scott Brooks playbook ain't the ain't the Warriors playbook. The Warriors actually passed the ball, and the way they played, I would everyone got usage rate, right? The way they handled it. I remember like some games, Draymond got high usage just because of how they would play. The other thing I will say about KD, when he was in Golden State, he played a lot of center. And when you play a lot of center, his blocks, I don't have the stat with me, but I know he was getting crazy like high block games for fantasy players while he was on Golden State. He is a defensive juggernaut when it comes to playing defensively. Now, real life, he's more of a defensive juggernaut in real life. I think that's one of the things people don't realize is that his defense is top tier. He's a top tier defender. And so he's elevated that part of his game. So, yeah, he's going to age fine. He's tall and he can, as long as his jumping, that's the only thing I'm worried about with this injury is that his height on his jump shot may get flat, but he just jumps over people and just shoots over them. That's all that's like 60% of his points, right? So he just gets to a spot, goes up and shoots it, and it goes in most of the time because he's just that good. So I think he'll be fine. My biggest issue with him, and that's why I didn't put him earlier, is just I just think they're gonna play him with kid gloves next year. I think he's gonna play, but to be honest, in the East, I think when he plays, the New York Nets are in New York, the New Jersey Nets are gonna. I'm sorry, Brooklyn. I keep saying New Jersey. Brooklyn Nets are going to.
Must have felt like Kevin Martin.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel.
Kenyon Martin. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry.
Brooklyn Nets, they're gonna be top 4 next year, easy. If Durant plays, so I don't foresee them really playing him a lot. I could see him later on in the year getting some rest time, and just really being a headache for fantasy players next year. And that's just me personally. I feel the same way about Kyrie, which is why I'm hesitant to put him. He may come up here in a little bit, but I just feel like they're going to play him with kid gloves. So I'm worried about those two guys. But other than that, yeah, he's a top. I mean, come on now, Kevin Durant. If he's healthy, fully healthy, top 3, easy.
And can you hear me? Do I sound a little bit better now?
Yeah, you sound better now. Yes, sir.
Good. So let me also say this, man. I figured when we got to this KD, I felt like we were going to juice this orange. So just to juice it, just the last extra here is I thought that was really good that you just said his defense that gets overlooked. 2017-18 Durant and Golden State, 1.8 blocks a game with 1.7 steals, 2.5 snipes. LT, like that's just outrageous. It's not fair.
He does everything. He is the only thing I think. No, because what is his assist at? Like almost 4 a game or around 4?
Excuse me, 0.7 blocks, not 1.7.
Okay. I was about to say. I thought you said 1 point. I was.
I thought I said no. I'm sorry, that was incorrect.
Hey, that's okay. That was okay. But he also gets rebounds. So and so I think his assists may be 4 to 5, but sometimes he's the whole package. He does it all on any given night. He'll give you everything, and that's why he's such a great asset. Doesn't hurt you anywhere. Turnovers too. I think his turnovers are pretty high. But other than that, he's Darks. He's a beast. Harden and Durant, two most like real life hated like basketball players. I can't deny they are amazing in fantasy. You can't deny it.
So let me put you on the spot here. If you knew that you were getting KD 75 plus games along with Harden 75 plus games, who would you choose?
KD.
Exactly. And
KD.
here's another. And that's another thing I was going to say. I felt like, man, listen, if KD gets 70, we don't think it's going to happen. Like what LT said, there's going to most likely handle him with kid gloves. But if KD got 75 plus games and we were sure of it, I think it's not crazy to say he could be the number 1 overall redraft player in all in redraft formats. Do you agree to that, LT?
Absolutely. If he wasn't coming off another, like, I think it's torn ACL. I can't remember the but Achilles. Yeah, Achilles. Oh, Achilles. Yeah, remember, I know about Achilles from playing Madden. Those Madden modes. Man, Achilles, you out. So coming back from Achilles, coming back, trying to put pressure back on that foot, and just as such an important part of the body for these basketball players. I'm just worried. I'm worried about that. He's got those skinny legs, man. He's had a couple of leg injuries that just kind of worried about. But I think he is going to come back and play well. I'm really thinking they're going to give him the old kid glove treatment. And I think that in order to make sure he's healthy for playoff time, that's all.
Gotcha. So we got KD at, let's see, that is 9. So the 10th spot, like kind of what LT said, there's a group of players that we can kind of mix up, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and say it now to not basically stiff them harder than what it is. I'm going to go ahead and put Kawhi at 10.
Yeah. Okay.
Kawhi Leonard, the thing is, he's another player that could be a little bit higher on this list, but the thing is, what we know about Kawhi is he's going to be a player that also is going to be handled with kid gloves in a different way. Load management, right? And he probably should be higher. And a lot of people probably say, oh, he should be higher than Lillard. But that's another thing. In a redraft format, I want players that is going to be almost a stone cold lock to give me that production that's going to be on the court versus getting that load management. Because when it comes to the playoffs, fantasy-wise, you need those players to produce. And if you don't have those players, they're taking rest days, it's going to hurt you. But Kawhi Leonard playing with the Clippers, it only makes sense that they're going to handle with kid gloves. But we know the production that he can do, right? He's won his championships, right? And I just think it's that point in time of how do you really envision him? It's hard to, and the thing is, he was giving you top 3 production, so it's like it feels like I'm giving him the stiff arm. Honestly, this is probably one of his best seasons, but the thing is, I'm still concerned just because he had load management this year. Play 51 games. I know we didn't get to the full season, but that is still less than a lot of other NBA players. right? But the snipes, he had a career high in the snipes this year at 2.1. The assist, which was very good this year, I'm not surprised because I'm not saying he's the de facto guard there, but his assists jumped up tremendously from 3 assists last year to 5 assists this year. The 1.8 steals, the field goal percentage took a little bit of a hit, but I mean, 46% is still really good. That's just me nitpicking. And the charity stripe has been really good, close to 90%, shooting 88%. So Kawhi Leonard, I don't got too much more to say, but load management. Joakim Noah, I don't know why he's pulled up on your screen, but I'll pass you the ball, LT. Any last impressions there?
Why is Joakim Noah on the Clippers, Starks?
Wait a minute, I didn't even know he played for the Clippers, man.
Dude, me either. Why is he on the Clippers?
Quick ring, man. Maybe.
Hey, man, you. I'm so cool on Joakim Noah, man. He jumped on the Clippers for that quick ring, man. Trying to chase them rings on the bench, man. I am cool.
Hey man, you remember that shot he would make, like the backward shot when he would do that. Like what is that? I don't know what that is.
It was such a production too. He took so long to shoot too, and he would make it sometimes. He was one of the most weirdest players to watch play basketball, man. But hey, he got the job done. He was a rebound. He was a Dennis Rodman-esque type player in his prime, with the rebounds. Defensive player. He was, and his energy. He played like good old D-Rod. Wasn't as good as D-Rod, but he played like him. But back to Kawhi Leonard. I like Kawhi Leonard. He just, again, he's you don't know what you know what? I'm gonna be honest. You don't know what this guy's thinking, right? I don't know what Kawhi Leonard is thinking in his head. And it bothers me. It bothers me that you can't get a read on him at all. He would be great at cards, poker, whatever, because you just cannot tell what this guy is thinking. And I don't know whether this guy is in it for the love, for the love of basketball. He wants to play, or what the Spurs said is true, that he just quit on them randomly. He said, "Hey, yeah, see ya, I'm cool," or he's just a robot who's been programmed to play basketball at a high level, and that's just what he's doing every day. He's going out there playing basketball at a high level, high IQ. You just can't tell, man. You can't tell what this guy's thinking. And it bothers me sometimes, but there's no, you know what? I can't deny he is a strong fantasy player when he's on the court. And maybe after this year, maybe next year, they will, again, give him, take off the kid gloves. Maybe he's healthy. I felt like he got healthier and healthier as the season went on. I don't know if they lifted that, because I remember before he was like back-to-backs or something like that. He wasn't playing a lot. But again, you're always going to run into this issue. And I wanted to speak to something you said about Lillard. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George next year, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. These guys who are on these strong teams, they're going to be at the top. They're going to be top 4 in their division. I mean, in the leagues, in the standings, within their within their conferences, and they're going to get rest at the end of the year. Lillard, I hate to say it, but the Blazers are always going to be a fringe playoff team, more than likely.
Yeah,
unfortunately. So they're always going to be in that 5 to 8 range, and every game is going to count. Every game has to count. He has to play. So those teams in those 5 to 8 ranges in fantasy, if you can, try to target those. Yeah, I mean, again, there's, you can say it without that. Kawhi may be better than Lillard. Lillard may be better than Kawhi for fantasy purposes, depending on what you're looking for in a team. But Lillard's going to probably play close to 80 games if he can, because he has to play 80 games in order for the Blazers to win games. So, and Kawhi, he can take off, 5 games, and the Clippers still will go 4-1, 5-0. So that's just something to think about when you're picking players up. But other than that, okay, so Kawhi Leonard, okay, Starks. This is where it gets hard, because I do have a player I want to pick, but I am unsure if he's going to produce at a high level.
Okay.
But I have 2 players in my head, but I know one that I really want to pick. But I'm going to go with him. I'm going to go ahead and go with my heart. And my heart tells me in the 11th spot and redraft leagues.
Uh-oh.
The real deal Bill, baby.
Oh.
B Bill coming through. And the other player that I was thinking about in this spot is probably a couple, but they all either are old or getting old or injury concerns. So those are the two others I'm thinking about. Now, people are going to pick their players. So you can imagine that this list may not end up like this. Bill might end up being one of those people you pick up early second round. But I think he should be going at this spot because he is going on a tear. He's not going to forget his snub. Next year, he's going to continue to remember his snub for the All-Star game. And he's going to continue to be the lifeblood of that team. Now, John Wall is expected to come back next year, which only helps Beal because I think that gives him the ability to get some because this year they've been gunning for him. He's getting extra attention, extra defense. The best defender on the team is going to Beal. And so with Wall out there, hopefully he comes back at, 75% of what he was before. And I think that's enough to give Beal some room and space to get his shot better, have better percentages, all the nine yards. So I think Beal is going to be up there next year. Starks. I know that was a spicy one. What do you think, man?
It's a warranted spicy one. I mean, the last couple months he was the number one player in fantasy, and honestly, if it was a points league for sure, I'm taking Bill over Kawhi. Not thinking twice. I think Bill could be even higher. I mean, this past year, I felt like that was a little rich, but now I think this is the fair spot to draft him. Now I think he's the real Bill, the real deal for real. But do you remember LT like years ago? I'm sure you remember when we first started fantasy. I felt like did it seem like maybe it was just me or maybe I'm just talking, but I will say it felt like he was an injury prone guy years ago. Do you remember that kind of?
Yeah, No. I remember him having injury concerns. He was often injured. It was always like little knickknacks. Yeah. I don't remember him ever having like a major injury, but he's always had time off, and it didn't matter because they had Wall, right? And so Wall would always cover up. But or they had my guy Martell Webster. Remember him?
Oh man.
I have to talk about my guy Martell Webster. I remember you. Thank you, Martell. You won me a lot of fantasy duels. But anyways, yeah, but he's actually been healthy recently. So with more tread, with more run too. So that's good to see.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been a lot healthy the last few seasons. I mean, he's played all of his games the last 2 years, all 82 games. Crazy, right? Man. But I guess for my concern for him is the usage rate that he really took in this year. The highest in his career at 35. And even usage rate at 38 the last 2 months when he was the number one player. I guess his body's probably ready for it now. I mean, like you said, John Wall should be back next year. And I think, honestly, Washington is going to be an interesting team.
They should be. They should be good, right?
Right. They should be.
They got, what's our guy, the center? What's his name?
Davis Bertans or not?
No, not Bertans, but him too. But they had a center that we liked. Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant. They got Orochimaru. Man, they got Troy Brown Jr. They got Shabazz. They got Gary Payton. Okay, not him. But yeah, let me stop. But they have pieces, and John Wall comes back. Man, I feel like they have a squad, man. So hopefully next year, the Wizards, let's be honest, the Wizards should be in the playoffs, man. And they should, they were, I remember those years, they were one of those top four teams in the East. They were a de facto playoff team for the East. You always saw them in the playoffs versus those Celtics teams. So I want to see them back. I want to see Bill and Wall back. They're both exciting players to watch. So Davis.
What I really want to know is the truth between those two. Is there really beef between those two?
I don't
That's what
know,
I really
man.
want to know.
I know Bill right now don't care. He won't the way he was looking on after what was it 50 plus points or something and lost or something
Losing
crazy
the
like
game.
that.
Yeah.
The way
Oh, it doesn't
the
matter.
I seen Bill's face on the sidelines, man. It looked like he was about to cry, man. Looks like he was about to cry. So he wants to win, man. He wants to
Oh yeah,
win. So yeah, so but yeah, that's my pick there. I think that's probably based on the other people that I'm looking at around that area. I know a lot of people from Akron is I know they're gonna be posting about that pick, but that man old. Okay. That boy from now he ain't young no more. That boy from Akron is old. And so he has to slow down eventually, I would hope. So I'm going with Bill in this area.
Nice. So to round it off on the first round, I'm at the 12th spot. This is tough for me, man, in the redraft format. Oh my
There's
goodness.
so many left. There's so many
There's
left.
so there's so many. There's so many. And I'm probably gonna get flack for not choosing one of the guys to be the back end first round player, but it's not about that. It's about maybe injecting the a little bit of the youth here. Um, Man, this might be a little too spicy pick. It really might just be, but I guess let me see something here. I might just pull the trigger anyway.
And also, just to
Go
note,
ahead.
remember, guys, on the 12th pick, this is a back-to-back pick. So
Mm-hmm.
remember, this is always when you get the last pick of the first round, man. I don't know. I like the last pick because you're going to be able to get two solid players, and if you win big on those two, you pick one that's going to do what they're supposed to do, and pick one that has some upside. Man, you looking good for the rest of the draft. So that's all I would say to that. But go ahead, Starks.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because this is the guy I drafted actually in our deep 12-man league.
Mm.
Took a risk on it and it paid. It paid to, like you said, when you get the back-to-back picks, you can hopefully get that risk. I mean, you don't typically want to take a risk yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the risk that I took on, and I'm just going to go ahead and repeat itself, is Trey Trigger Young. I'm just going to pull that trigger and say Trey Young. This year,
Nice.
he was really good this year, right? He finished top 17. Is there room for him to improve? Yes, absolutely it is, right? He's what? Obviously, it was the Lucas show this year. We get it, but he was not too far behind.
Mm-mm.
What Luka was doing this year. 29 points this season, just outrageous. A massive bump up this season. The assist, even chipped in a steal average this season. He was getting at that charity stripe, which I love, and LT knows, pumping up the volume at that charity stripe, taking 9 shot attempts a game. That is something I will never ignore. LT knows that I love the charity stripe, pumping up the volume with the good percentage there. If you give me any taste of that Harden-esque, then I will be looking your way potentially. And that's what Trey Young was doing this year. Honestly, he could average a double-double in assists next year. I think it's fair to say when you got Clint Capella, man, that's going to be an interesting pick and roll from time to time. And then you got John Collins. So, yes, I think the assist is only going to go up for him. So I think it's fair that he will be a double-double guy. Field goal percentage, I don't care. I don't care about it. 43%, I mean, it's better than what he did last year, but that's not something that I pay attention to. So as if I'm drafting, I'm just going to go back with the back-to-back pick, and then I'll give your thoughts on that momentarily, LT. So Trey Young, I will take it the 12th spot. So if I have the pick again, start in the second round, man, this one is really tough. I want to say, my goodness, I want to double down and get really silly with this, and I could. Is it right to do this? Maybe not. I don't want to do that. Ah, hold on, let me make sure it's in here. I don't know if I want to do this or not. I will say that, yeah, can I get silly? Maybe I should just go ahead and get silly. Sure, why not? Why not? I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I've already took the risk on Damian Lillard. I'm just gonna go ahead and bite the bullet because if you're in a back end 12, you get spiced. I was gonna just be honest. I was gonna say Joel Embiid. It makes sense enough,
That makes
but I'm not.
that's probably the right pick.
That's the exact. That's probably the right pick, But I'm gonna go dirty and probably do the wrong pick here. I'm gonna just go ahead and do Jason Tatum. Right here.
Ooh, that's spicy meatball.
That's something I'm gonna tell you, listeners. I don't think that's the right move. I'll be honest. I think it's the right move. So listen to
Or
what me
do
and
you?
LT
Or
just
do
kind of
you?
said. Or exactly. But I think LT, what he said, I think the right pick is Joel Embiid. But I'm just gonna go Jason Tatum, right? I know it's a redraft league, but I'm just gonna go ahead and inject you. If you got the 12th spot, you have to do everything you can to manipulate the value as much as you can possible. If you don't have the first 4 picks in a fantasy draft redraft format, because if Jason Tatum now does he get potentially better than he does last year? I don't think so, but if he does, then you're going to, as LT would say, smiling from ear to ear, because he did finish as a back end first round value as a top 12 player in 9 cat leagues. He was potentially almost averaging a triple one, and his defense gets overlooked. At 1.4 steals, 0.9 blocks, almost a block a game, shooting 80% the charity stripe. His usage rate was going up. I assumed that was going to happen, obviously, with Kyrie going. So he got more of the opportunity to run that offense, and that's what he did, scoring a lot more points, scoring more 3-pointers. Before I go a little bit more on this, LT, what is your thoughts on Trae Young and Jason Tatum on the back-to-back picks?
Woo, that's a spicy, man. Okay. On the Trae Young, I am 150% with you on the Trae Young pick. To be honest with you, I was kind of thinking about him in the Beal pick as well. He's the next man up, right? Usually in those top 12, we got at least about 3 high quality point guards, 3 to 4 usually. And in here, he's the 4th guy, right? The 4th high quality point guard that I'm showing in the league right now. Again, you can put him with a couple of others, but his assist rate to points rate and to fit free throws, he is up there as a quality point guard. What sets him aside from Doncic and maybe Lillard is the field goal percentage. Again, all I'm gonna say is that with him having Capella, with him having hopefully wow, I can't think, you just said his name. John Collins, a couple of other guys we like there over in the Hawks. With everyone getting better next year, I think 20 shots is too much. I know we like to pump up the volume, Starks. I know we do.
Yeah.
But 20 shots a game? I know that sounds cool for you, but he made about 9 of those. I would love it if he took 17 to 18 shots and made 9 of those. With the 1.1 steals, boost that up to 1.3, my man Trae. You know what? Free throw percentage, 86%? No, not 88, 90%. Just become more efficient, and he will be a top player. So that's all with Trae Young. And then Jason Tatum, he's budding into a superstar before our very eyes. And with the team, he has the coach backing behind him as well. So he has the availability to be a top flight player in this league. The only thing is that I have another player that I would actually rather take in that position. Not saying Jason Tatum is bad, but my choice, which is still in Fusion aloof, would be Devin Booker from the Suns. And so Devin Booker would be to pair him with Trae Young. And then you can, right from there, you can kind of work on, getting those small forwards, getting some quality defensive stats, whatever you want. But Devin Booker also is a budding superstar, top flight player. Reminds me of Russell Westbrook without the rebounds, as far as how he plays and the scoring that he puts up on every day. What can Devin Booker do better? Nothing. He's not a point guard. And as soon as Rubio came in, I feel like he played a lot better as that 2-guard shooting guard position. So I like Devin Booker. Again, one of the things me and Starks always talked about is small forwards, but shooting guards is also a very high cut role on fantasy rosters. There's like 3 or 4 good shooting guards, and then it's like, yeah. So if you want to secure a position that's going to be hard to get later on in the drafts, shooting guard is that position. So you got your Hardens, You got your, I think Doncic is the SG spot as well. Got
Mhm.
your Beals, your Bookers, got your Butlers, got a lot of Bs. And then, yeah, I don't know about really who else. I think Tatum comes in as a small forward, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, that's my pick. But Tatum's right there. And of course, there's more solid picks you can choose if you're trying to be safe, you know. Not Jokey boy, Embiid, the Akron native, LeBron, and my guy Butler. Butler's also, I think, is a great pick around this area. So that's my thoughts, though. Starks, what anything else you wanted to add?
That was an interesting pick. I think that's a fair pick too at that spot. I would have chose maybe two. No. Yeah, no. I maybe took probably two players ahead of Booker.
Okay.
But Booker, honestly, that's a good spot too. I think the second round is going to be a collective amount of solid players, man. This is the juicy round, I think. It really is.
I like Ayton better than Embiid this year too, man. Next year.
Oh
DeAndre
yeah?
Ayton?
Oh yeah.
I like Ayton better just because now Ayton was hurt this year, right? He came back and he was looking pretty good. But before, I know the White Knight
was he hurt or was he taking them PEDs or which one was it?
That's right. He wasn't hurt. That's right. He was taking those. That's right. He was taking this.
Or was he syringing it up?
That's right. Enhancing drugs. That's right. I forgot about that. But so he wasn't hurt. He was just trying too hard to be good. So he's juicing, getting the venom Bane style. But Ayton's he was playing well, and I guess I just the text from what I said, right? He was playing well before he got caught for PED. So maybe that lended it to why he was playing so well. So yeah. But no, I like Ayton. I still like his game. I understand PEDs, whatever, but I like his game. I think he's the next big center that's going to show up. You know who he reminds me of, Starks, and people are going to throw food and cans at me for mentioning him, but he reminds me of a young KG. A little bit with his game style.
Well, that's not bad.
Yeah,
That's
the way
not bad.
his game style. Now, again, listen, everybody, before you start throwing food and plastic can wrappers and everything else, KG obviously is one of the greats. I get it, but just play style alone, he reminds me of KG, working that corner block a lot. Has that little floaty jumper that he can come in and pull up on. So that's the only reason. So if he can get that going with Booker, I think they can be a solid 1-2 punch. And yeah, that's all I got, man.
Okay, we'll try to get to 16 because I know we're almost there.
Yeah,
so we'll do two more we'll do two more picks and we'll split this up. So 15, I think you kind of already said it, and I'm just going to go ahead and say Embiid here. And I think you're slightly cutting a coupon here at this point in time.
Yeah.
Now I do know that you like Ayton more than Embiid, which is fine. Ayton could take it. Honestly, he could take it to the next step if he takes another syringe in his vein, but we'll see about that. But as far as Joel Embiid goes, honestly, he's always been a player that he has a massive ceiling, and what we're all concerned about here in New Life with Embiid is what's the realistic of him staying healthy. That's always the big concern with him. And if you was to tell us that he got 75 plus games, he would be inside the top 8 or better in fantasy. I think that's easy to say. And he can even be better than that. But this year, he took a little bit of a regression this season as far as like 9-cat leagues go, because he was ranked top 10 this past year, only top 15. But I mean, I'm drafting him here at 15 spot. The steals, or the blocks, this is where I'm a little concerned. Okay, now Embiid was a blocks monster. Now 1.3 blocks is good, but that's not what you expect from Embiid. You expect him to cover around the 1.7 and up range. In 1.3, I'm not saying it doesn't cut it, but if I'm going to nitpick, I want a little bit more from him, from a center. And we have to also think about that load management and the injury concerns with him. It sucks, right? As you would call him, Al Roker. Is it Al Horford? He still plays for the Philadelphia Sixers, right?
He does, yes.
All right. So we kind of seen some things where I'm not saying they didn't mesh well together, but he took some reduction in that with Al Horford, and that's what I was concerned because his rebound rate did go down to 11 rebounds versus 13 rebounds the prior year. A blocks took a step back as well too. His field goal
Mm.
percentage, which is weird, took just a slight hit at 47% versus 48. I mean, the charity stripe, he didn't get to the line. I mean, he got to the line a lot at 8. But last year he was at 10. So I think this is a right spot for him. And honestly, if anybody wants to take him in the back end first round, like we were kind of me and LT was going back and forth on, that could still be the spot too. But if MB falls this far, I think you got to snap him up, and that's why I chose him here. Any last impressions, LT?
Yeah, definitely. Embiid's you know what? He's an interesting player to have.
Mhm.
Like you stated before, he was having some great games, and then he was having very inconsistent bad games. As you'll see on some of those recent games here, he has a 49 game followed up with a 3-point game. He didn't play the whole game though, but then he went into a 30-point game. So you know, it's one of those things where I like him. I like him in this spot. He's not one of my guys that I try to aim. But if you're looking for value and he's on our list, he's back in 15. You got to pick him up. You got to pick him up in this spot. No questions asked. So yeah, that's all I got.
Nice. And then we'll just jump into the last pick here, LT. This is going to be you at 16. I can't actually wait to see who you're choosing here. This is really interesting.
Oh, this is easy for me. This is absolutely easy for me. And the reason why this is easy for me is because again, a lot of my people from Akron are going to throw cans and wrappers at me, but I'm not picking him. No, he is old. I want to say it again. He is old. Now, can you pick him at this spot? Absolutely. You can actually pick him on those. You know, if you're going to go Trae Young, you can actually pick LeBron in that 13, 14, 15 spot. You will not be wrong in doing that. Another player, but I'm not picking him because, again, eventually that age is going to catch up to him, and I'm not going to be the one that experiments with it in my fantasy league. I just won't do it. So for me, the pick, I know, it's going to have to be Caron Butler. No. Not Caron Butler. Just kidding. Jimmy B. Jimmy Buckets.
Caron Butler.
Yeah, I had you confused for fucking. Not Caron Butler. No. Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Buckets. And why would you pick Jimmy Buckets? Because you got to think about where you're picking, who you're picking in this spot, right? If you're picking in this spot, you probably picked up KD, probably picked up Kawhi, probably picked up Jokey Boy, Nikola Jokic for people who may know. You might have picked up Curry, you know, in these spots coming up here. Who do you want to add? You want to add you got all these high profile players. Who do you want to add? You want to add someone gritty. You want to add someone who's going to be right there in your fantasy team. People are going to be like, "Man, how is he beating me every week? I don't know what's going on." Hey, guess what? Jimmy B, for some odd reason, has, you know, a 4-block game. He has a 4 steal game. He has 6 rebounds, 6 assists. He's not hurting you anywhere. How many turnovers does he have per game? Sometimes he has a lot. Yeah, there's some 4s, but there's also some 0s. There's also some 1s. He has a 0 turnover game with 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 28 points. Are you kidding me? 12 for 14 from the charity stripe. You didn't know he could do that, did you? He can. He is a Swiss Army knife in your fantasy team. And so you want guys like that, high quality guys like that on your fantasy team early. And again, he's at one of those spots where it's hard to come by. Shooting guard. He also fills that forward position if you so choose. So he is, to me, based on what he's done this year, a high quality pick at a second round value. And I just barely like him a little better than LeBron next year because of he's just a little younger too. So I also take that into consideration. And I know what his work ethic is. Is Jimmy Butler going to miss games? Yeah, he may miss 1 or 2. I could bet your bottom's dollar he ain't going to miss games for, randomly for a week or 2 weeks off of small pains. You know, at the end of the season, he's going to probably be out on the court. So I prefer Butler to LeBron all day, every day. And that's just the way I'm going to go with it. Starks.
You get the
Oh, is that
slugs
the
from.
clap? Okay, I got a clap of approval. I'm happy.
That was really good. And I'm gonna go ahead and give you a little bit more juice on this orange here. I
Okay.
remember LT years ago when we started fantasy. I mean, we've been playing fantasy for about a little bit over a decade, and I know you
Yeah.
introduced me to it. And this is one of your guys' originals that I remember.
Mhm.
I remember pretty strongly that you had snagged him from the waiver wire. I think one of those years, and I think it was back in 2013 or something around that range. That's really deep when he was in Chicago,
Yeah, yeah.
and he had a come out party, and I was just like, man, he wasn't a highly drafted player, coming out of college. And some of the games I remember going against you that some of those weeks, I'm just like, man, Jimmy Butler, like, who is this guy? He was getting at the charity stripe, started to get to the charity stripe a lot. I'm just like, what is this? And then he would get those assists. I just like, who is this guy? And I know we know who he is now, but I just remember those days that Jimmy Butler used to put a beating on me in some of those weeks. So congrats to you on that, and congrats to you on this pick because I thought we're essentially the same here. I thought Jimmy Butler should not fall any further than this. And honestly, the knock that I have on Jimmy Butler is the only season other than when he wasn't a superstar yet in fantasy. So going back to 2013, he's only had one season that he's played more than 75 games. And that
Mhm.
that is one out of, I think, let's see, 7 years that he's only played 75 plus games. And that's always been a knock on his game because
Mhm.
sometimes when you need Jimmy Butler the most, he's not there for you in your fantasy playoffs. And that has been a hard pill to swallow because if he is there, honestly, he's really a back end first round type of player in redraft formats. He can give you that value, just like the stuff that you were, speaking on, like the defensive prowess that he has too. He is like a grit and grinder, like you were saying. He's really gritty on them steals. Like he has always been gritty. He's always in his career, pretty much almost essentially since 2013, been averaging 1.6 steals or more. That is unheard of. You cannot just do that with any NBA player, especially in fantasy. That he's done that. And he's a scorer, and he gets those assists. To me, because he doesn't seem, for me, when I look at Jimmy Butler, he doesn't always seem like a guard, but he actually is. He could do almost essentially like we say. He kind of does it all if he wanted
Mhm.
to. He doesn't take a lot of threes, but could he do it? Yeah, he absolutely could do. He could do that. He went to the charity stripe a lot this season at
Nah.
9 attempts to games, like just ignorant, right? So I am in agreement with you. Jimmy Butler is a solid player, and we'll kind of end up shop. Any last impressions on your pick here on Jimmy Butler? Anything else you want to say?
Hey man, nothing, man. That was he's impressed me this year. Again, I will have to note, yes, there is other players that you could put in this position. And we'll probably go over those on our next episode. We probably will cover some of those other players, but those players that used to be those top ends of the first round, a lot of those players are relegated to the second round now. It's just is what
Yeah,
it is. It's just how fantasy works. And you have to know when it's time to move on to the next generation, the next up and coming player, and leave some of those back end, some of those people that did you well last decade are not going to do you as well this decade. You got to just make sure you're not sticking with those same olds. Obviously, people like Harden, Curry, Durant, if he's healthy, are still top tier. But people like LeBron, I know he's probably missing from this list. And to be honest, yeah,
yeah,
he should be maybe higher on this list. And someone, my thing about this list is that someone will take LeBron higher than where we have it on this
sure.
list. Someone always will. So guess what? That means people on this list that we're giving you are gonna push. They're just gonna push that list forward. So there's gonna be some people to keep your eye on next year in redraft leagues. And someone's picking up LeBron James, again, just and again, to LeBron's credit, he's played a lot of games. We give him credit for being hurt a lot and for missing games, but last year 55 games was the lowest. But I mean, again, this year he was running at 60. He already played more games this year than he did all of last year, this year. So you know what, I mean, should he be higher on our list? Maybe. But
Yeah.
again, he's old. Very, very old. And so I don't know. I'm 89, so he's like 35, right? Starks about to be
So
35.
Yeah, I think he's going to be 35 in December. I think he might
Mm-hmm.
be 34 now. Yeah,
34
yeah, yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah. 34. So yeah, he'll be 35 this upcoming season. So again, that's like doom's door for most for most NBA players. But again, LeBron's a different kind of animal. So he's still a second round talent. Don't get me wrong. I just think
Correct.
there's
Correction. I'm sorry. 35 now, so he'll be 36 this year.
36 next season. And again, he said he's not going to retire. He's going to do the Vince Carter style. He's not going to retire till he can play with his sons or play against his sons in the NBA. So he means that. When he says stuff like that, I believe him. So, he's going to do Vince Carter style. Probably we're probably going to be seeing LeBron a long time still in the NBA. But again, you have to know when it may be time for listen. Father Time is undefeated. Okay, so it's gonna happen. But he's a physical specimen. So maybe not next year. Maybe again we're discrediting him. But yeah, we'll see. But yeah, that's all I got, man.
I want to see if there's any syringes around his arms or not. But
Man, man, they won't say nothing.
exactly.
He's like the NBA poster boy. If something came out about LeBron, they probably would hide it. He is. He's perfect. He doesn't. He's one of the most, I would say, one of the best role model best NBA players of ever. I don't think there's any. Magic Johnson had his issues. Michael Jordan has his issues. LeBron, man, to be honest.
Yeah. Only thing I can not. We could just the only knock on him is what I remember. What made me dislike him years ago. Was when he was with the Heat, when he was just like not one, not two, and then but it wasn't that. I think the massive thing when he was getting a lot of hate his way was I guess there was people. It was starting to get to him, so I can understand he was getting a lot of hate his way when he joined Miami. But
I mean,
go ahead.
The only thing I'll say to that is that I think I had a little bit of hate for him, but when you think about it, and someone brought this to my attention, when the Celtics did it, it didn't seem like a big issue. Or when Gary Payton and Karl Malone went over to the.
Hey man, they didn't have this sit down on ESPN.
Listen, man,
you could if he would have just done it without saying anything, like I think it would have been different. I think it would have been different. But like
it was orchestrated. Yeah, it was orchestrated a lot differently than those, because a lot of those were just trades. But I just want to be real with the Celtics. I want to sit KG, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen in a room and say, you guys didn't say anything.
Ray Allen's not going to sit with them.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. But I'm going to be like, you guys didn't. Are you telling me you guys didn't like talk to each other beforehand? Are you sure about that? Same thing. Like, you didn't think Karl Malone called Gary Payton? It's like, hey, man, we ain't get our rings because of Jordan. Let's go over to the Lakers to try to get one. You don't think they talked at all?
And man, they were older. I think that's fair at that point. Gary Payton and Karl Malone were already over their prime, man, at that time.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I guess.
But one more thing I will say on this. The thing that got under my skin, but I'm over it now. He said, listen, you people that have normal lives, you live your normal lives, but I live a good life. And I'm paraphrasing that. Pretty much he said, I wake up in the morning, I look at myself in the mirror, and I feel good about myself. The people that live normal lives, you have the same life. I was just
I remember that. And it's funny because I know what he was trying to say, but it came off completely the wrong way. Like, the way he worded it was extremely wrong. And it was like, wow. Yikes, dude. I know I stepping back, I know what he was trying to say. He's trying to say, like, the decisions he's made in his life, he feels
that's what he was trying to say.
I mean, I think he was trying to say the decisions he's made in his life he can live with. Whereas the decisions other people who are basically, they were like, what? They were like calling him names, bad mouthing him. It's like, you guys are out there, doing all this, like, worry about you. Basically, he's trying to say, like, worry about you. Like, I'm good over here. Worry about you and your life and what you're doing instead of, cussing me out on the internet. But the way it sounded, it's like, yeah. By the way, I'm like completely and utterly a better human being than you. It's basically what it came out as. And I was like, yikes, dude. Because even I felt that. I was like, I mean, he's right. I mean,
Yeah.
he's not wrong. He's right, but at the same time, yikes, dude. But yeah, he did say some questionable stuff around him. But I think he was feeling the heat, man. No
Yeah,
pun intended. No pun
Hey, that was
intended. No
good.
no pun intended. I actually didn't even mean to do that. It's funny. No pun intended. But yeah, man, that was fun times though. I didn't mind that when he went
Yeah.
to the Heat.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, after he won the championships, I mean,
Mhm.
honestly, LeBron has been pretty much like you said, the perfect role model in NBA history, right? A
Yeah.
Moogle does his own thing, entrepreneur, like does it pretty much does it all. But
Mhm.
one player I wanted to also say before, like you were saying, LeBron, we're probably catching flack. We're probably going to catch flack for this player too, which is Kyrie Irving. We'll probably talk about on the next episode. We'll probably catch flack for that. But you guys know with the injury history, that's all I'm saying. We'll leave it for the next
I
episode.
picked him early this year, so I ain't picking him. So I picked them like early second round this year, or maybe even late first round this year. No. It would have to have been early second. So early second round. No. I'm not touching them with a 5-foot pole, 7-foot pole, whatever poles you got. I ain't touching them with them because he burned me this year. He destroyed me in multiple leagues. Man, I know he was good, and it made you mad because he wasn't playing, didn't know what was happening. Then he came back randomly, and then he was killing it, man. He was just killing it, jacking up shots left and right, doing his best Kyrie Irving impression, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, he's gone again. Something with his shoulder. Really? I don't know. It was weird, man. It almost looked like he might have got a call from Steph. It was like, hey man, I'm gonna pass you this tank top. And Kyrie took that tank top and was like, yeah, see ya. So anyways, you ain't gonna see me pick Curry, and that's just personal because I don't.
You mean Kyrie?
I'm sorry, Kyrie. Yeah, not Curry. Kyrie. Because he destroyed me this year in 2 leagues, so I can't even with him.
Yeah, so listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. This will be split in 2, but when LT does this, he can just do the full episode on YouTube. Be solid there. So the clutch shot I'm going to take here, I actually meant to mention this in the early episode. LT, my clutch shot is this. LT, have you ever made accidental stew before, man?
No. What is that?
Yeah, I guess basically I try to create something that like a spin-off of Chipotle, and it was miserably just destroyed myself. But it actually turned out pretty decent, man.
Yeah.
It was a stew versus like trying to do a Chipotle bowl.
Like a bowl, yeah.
Exactly, but I just turned it into like it turned into like a stew. I was like, forget this. I'm just gonna put marinara sauce and see where this takes me. The turkey meat and some vegetables, but hey, it came out pretty good. Steamed some rice up, just stew it together, and it wasn't too bad. So that's my clutch shot. LT, you have a clutch shot, man?
No, I don't have a clutch shot, but I remember I made Chipotle once, and it just is so involved. Like I actually, made the steak, made the chicken. Man, it's involved. So that's why Chipotle is just easier to just go get it. Because if you make it, you can make it at home. But I'm telling you, if you want to, but it is involved. It takes forever to do exactly what they already have prepared, and I don't got no time for that. But that's all. That's my clutch shot. Other than that, hope everyone's doing well, staying safe, staying blessed as well. That's all I got, man.
Awesome. So listeners, just like what LT said, stay safe. Be blessed in this. We're gonna get through this together. Where you guys can follow me on Twitter, it's at Starks_industry. You can also find me on Instagram, m.starkspal. Give me a follow, ask me a question, and I'll get to you at a prompt time. I'll pass you the ball. LT, where can they find you at, man?
I'm sorry, you got this post on here. This Clay.
Clay and Curry mashup.
Yo.
Wait. Oh, that's the real Curry.
That's the real Curry. Hey, at Clay Thompson, looks like we got some comments. I'm cool.
Oh, not Clay, Michael Thompson. Exactly.
It's Michael Thompson and Seth Curry. It's because his name. I'm super cool, man. Okay. Anyways, you guys can find me on Twitter at Sage Network, at Sage Network _. You can find me there. Give me any, leave me with any questions you have, or don't. Whatever you would like, or provide me with anything you would like for the YouTube channel once those videos start going back up. You should see them today and tomorrow. 2-part series, because I still have to post our first part of this. So you should see both of those videos coming up for you soon. Let me know how I can change it and what you would like to have done better. But other than that, God bless for you guys.
All right, listeners. So with that being said, God bless you. Have a good evening, morning, afternoon, and take a ride.